Duel Links has a lot of formats. If you think about it, the card game's got the OCG, the TCG, some fan-made ones like Edison format, and then some official ones like Genesis format. But what about their mobile game, Duel Links? Well, of course you might overlook it because, again, it's a mobile game. I like to see the potential it may have. And in this YouTube series of great global success, we asked the question, what happens if your favorite archetype was added in Duel Links? Yu-Gi-Oh's got a lot of different archetypes, but what if I were to tell you that you can play a card game in a card game? Yeah, that's right. That's where Flower Cardians come in. Let's get started with a brief history lesson. In 2016, the OCG was introduced to Flower Cardians through the Collector's Pack Duelist of Flash. We've got ourselves the basic cards available back on the TCG in same year on the Dragons of Legend Unleashed set. And then finally, in the Collection Pack of 2020, we've seen some support added onto it. Heck, we've even seen the cards played in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. In Arc V, we've got ourselves a duel featuring Takumatsu going up against Yuya, the main character. And he plays Flower Cardians, which is very interesting. Of course, as you can probably tell, the main character, he wins the game. Still, it's really cool to see the anime take mention of this card. Heck, there's even an anime exclusive Flower Cardian card that makes it so that they can't be destroyed by battle. Very interesting archetype overall. But what about the cards that we do have in Duel Links? Here we are, here's some of the cards that we have in Duel Links compared to don't. If you don't want an in-depth guide, I can give you a quick brief on what the cards do, and then you can kind of skip ahead to the pros and cons. The main idea of Cardians is to draw cards from the top of your deck, hoping that you draw a Cardian monster. And if you do, certain effects may transpire. The main idea is to have one of your tuner monsters in order to synchro summon into strong synchro boss monsters. However, in case you don't have the right cards, certain cards have battle effects, which allow you to swing at your opponent even if you don't have the specific synchros you want. Now for the in-depth card descriptions, we'll go one by one to the cards that are in Duel Links, and then look at the cards that aren't in Duel Links. Starting off, we have Flower Cardian Pine. If this card is normal summoned, draw one card, show it, and then send it to the graveyard unless it's a Flower Cardian monster. You can only use this effect of Flower Cardian Pine once per turn if this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or if this card is in your possession and is destroyed by your opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can draw one card. Normal summon effect, pretty solid 1-star card. We also have Cardian Pine with Crane. This card cannot be normal summon or set, however, must first be special summoned by tributing a level 1 Flower Cardian monster, except itself. If this card is special summoned, draw one card, and if you do, show it. Then you can special summon it if it is a Flower Cardian monster. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. Once per turn, at the end of the battle phase, if this card is battled, if this card battled, you can draw one card. Pretty solid card. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, being able to draw an extra card and special summon the extra cards there is pretty nice. However, as we'll see, some cards can't be special summoned without certain effects. And then as you'll also see, some cards can ignore the summoning conditions and special summon. So, although it is a pretty nice card, it is not the best. We go on to now Flower Cardian Peony with Butterfly. This card is a level 6 monster, cannot be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned by tributing a Flower Cardian monster except itself. Doesn't matter the level. If this card is special summoned, draw one card, and if you do, show it. Then, if it is a Flower Cardian monster, look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. Then, place them all on the top or bottom of the deck in any order. Ooh, you don't really see that effect much nowadays. I wonder why. Still a really nice disruption, allowing you to counter some, one card combos your opponent may have. in the event that they don't have it in their hand, of course. Now, of course, if it isn't a Flower Cardian monster, you're going to have to send it to the grave. When this card is used as synchro material, you can treat it and all other synchro materials that have a level as level 2 monsters. That have a level? That is very strangely worded. However, it still is pretty solid effect, allowing you to get into your synchro monsters without having to worry about math with the number 1 card in your field. With it being the only tuner though in the game, this one's a pretty important card to have, so good luck drawing that. Up next we have Clover with Boar. It's a level 7 monster, cannot be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned from your hand by tributing 1 Flower Cardian monster except itself. Again, no level specifics. If this card is special summoned, draw a card, and if you do, show it. Then, if it is a Flower Cardian monster, you can destroy 1 monster your opponent controls, otherwise send it to the grave. We got ourselves the first of a couple of cards that disrupt your opponent's field, which is very interesting for sure. Up next, we have ourselves Zebragrass, level 8 monster. While you control a level 7 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot normal summon or special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Flower Cardian monsters. Pretty solid effect since it doesn't require you to tribute it like certain other cards. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can reveal any number of Flower Cardian monsters from your hand, shuffle them to the deck, and draw the same number of cards. Pretty nice reload, that's the card name. Pretty nice reload effect. This also includes normal summoning, and since it's level 8, that would be 2 or more tributes. Up next, we have Zebragrass with Moon. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned by tributing a level 8 Flower Cardian monster, except itself. If this card is special summoned, draw a card, and if you do, show it. Then you can special summon it if it is a Flower Cardian monster. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. Once per turn, when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can draw 1 card. Very similar to Crane, this card allows you to have effects when battling. And with the 2000 attack points, it can be useful in some instances. Of course, just like with Crane, it requires you have Zebragrass or Pine before you can special summon it. With that being said, let's move on to Maple with Deer. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned by tributing 1 Flower Cardian monster except itself. If this card is special summoned, draw 1 card, and if you do, show it. Then, if it is a Flower Cardian monster, you can destroy 1 spell or trap card your opponent controls, otherwise send it to the grave. Very, very similar to with the Boar and Clover. Spell and trap destruction is pretty neat. It doesn't matter if it is set or face up. Those are all the main monsters we've got in Duel Links. But what about the extra deck monster? Introducing the one and only Flower Cardian extra deck monster in Duel Links, Boardafly. With it being a level 6 monster, requiring 1 tuner and 2 non-tuner monsters, you can see how this one can be special summoned. If this card, or if a Flower Cardian monster you control attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. Once per turn, you can banish 1 Flower Cardian monster in your graveyard. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, your opponent cannot activate effects of cards in the graveyard. Also, they cannot special summon monsters from the graveyard. Very nice effect, very similar to Abyss Dweller. However, this also includes special summoning from grave. Of course, cards like Monster Reborn still can activate their effects since they aren't in the graveyard. However, being able to lock your opponents from activating certain effects from there is pretty neat, especially with this upcoming meta. Now, of course, piercing damage is always nice, especially when you tie that in with Pine with Crane, or if you tie that in with Zebragrass with Moon. So this card is a pretty neat addition, and is pretty neat overall when it's in your field. What about the spell and trap cards? Let's go into there right now with Recardination. Target one Flower Cardian monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, then you can special summon one Flower Cardian monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. Pretty neat. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a Flower Cardian monster's effect, you can activate the top 5 cards of your deck, and if you do, you can add one activated spell trap card to your hand. Place the remaining cards on the top of your deck in any order. This card in itself is a very nice card effect. It doesn't even require you to special summon the one card that you drew from the grave, like Monster Reborn, instead allowing you to add it to your hand and then choose any Flower Cardian monsters in your hand to special summon, including ones that would require the previous card to be on field, like Crane or like Moon. On top of that, if you accidentally pick this card up when you draw one of the other cards, it has an effect to activate the top 5 cards and pick one spell or trap card that would have been drawn from another effect. And place the remaining in any order also allows you to put monsters that you would have drawn before back on top. Overall, pretty solid card. Taking accountability for both if you draw it by accident using a monster's effect, or if you already have it in hand and you want to extend your combos. Up next, we've got ourselves flower stacking. Choose 3 Flower Cardian monsters with different names from your deck, place them in the top of your deck in any order. During your main phase, except a turn that this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your grave, then target one Flower Cardian monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use this effect of flower stacking once per turn. Pretty solid card. Now, of course, it is kind of nerfed compared to Reincarnation, as you have to wait till your next turn to use it in the event that it was sent to the graveyard, whether you used it or whether you sent it using a monster effect. Either way, being able to stack the deck on your favor is very nice. Not super strong, but still super neat. Finally, Fraud Freeze, a continuous trap that says once per turn when your opponent special summons a monster from the hand, except during damage step, you can return to the hand all monsters your opponent controls that were special summoned from the hand. If neither player controls a Flower Cardian synchro monster, send this card to the graveyard. Wow. Pretty nice. Sadly, it's once per turn. However, it's a pretty solid floodgate in case your opponent's pendulum summoning, or in case your opponent is about to start a major combo. Of course, you got to be careful because, again, it's once per turn, and if your opponent pops a synchro monster on your field, then this gets popped too. But that's all the cards in Duel Links. Let's cover the cards that are not in the game yet. Starting off, we've got ourselves Cherry Blossom. Cherry Blossom is a level 3 monster that states that if you control a level 2 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except Flower Cardian monsters. Once per turn, you can tribute one Flower Cardian monster, draw a card, and if you do, show it. Then, if it is a Flower Cardian monster, you can take one Flower Cardian monster from your deck, except this card, and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Pew! Otherwise, send it to the grave. My bad. The card you drew. This is a pretty solid effect. I mean, think about it. You can be able to pop off more combos in the event that you just drew a Flower Cardian monster. Not only that, but this card can special summon itself in the event you start off with a Flower Cardian Pine. Since we technically don't have any level 2 Flower Cardian monsters in the game, it only requires that one there. But still, nonetheless, it is a very solid card if you start off with, again, Pine, or if you have Crane Pine from the effects of one of the previous cards as mentioned before. However, this card also has another form, this one being Cherry Blossom with Curtain. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned by its own effect. You can reveal this card in your hand, draw one card, and if you do, show it. Then special summon this card if the drawn card is a Flower Cardian monster. Otherwise, send it and this card to the graveyard. Okay, this one's a very unique card effect compared to the other ones that first require the original card to be on field. This one reveals itself from hand and then looks to see if the next one is a Flower Cardian card. Either way, the effect is still very desirable, as if it is a Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card during either player's damage step. When your Flower Cardian monster battles an opponent's monster, you can discard this card from hand. Your battling monster gains 1000 attack until the end of the turn. Pretty solid card to be in hand, as you can mainly combo off and start off your main card stuff using its effects. Very neat overall, and a very unique card effect. Up next, we've got ourselves Willow. If this card face looks very familiar, we got Hatronade banned in Duel Links, so it's very neat to see this face pop up. Of course, not in Duel Links, because it's not in Duel Links. While you control a level 10 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except Flower Cardian monsters. Starting to see a little bit pattern here where these support cards are limiting what other cards you can play, as they lock you into Flower Cardians. Once per turn, you can target one Flower Cardian monster in the graveyard, shuffle it to the deck, and draw one card. That's pretty solid because it doesn't require this draw card to be a Flower Cardian monster. But either way, this is a pretty neat card, allowing you to special summon it and not need to tribute. We've got ourselves the extra card here, which is Willow with Calligrapher. Yeah, I said it right the first time. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by tributing level 11 Flower Cardian monster, except itself. If this card is special summoned, draw a card, and if you do, show it. Then you can special summon it if it was a Flower Cardian monster. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. When this card is used for synchro material, you can treat it as all other synchro material that has a level as level 2 monsters. Again, another tuner monster that pops up, but requires the original Willow, since that's the only level 11 card currently, to be special summoned. Also, pretty neat card, allowing you to special summon if the card you drew was a Flower Cardian monster, and then again having that effect that allows you to synchro into your link, or allowing you to synchro into your main extra deck monsters. The last two main monsters we've got in, or don't got in Duel Links, is the level 12 Polony and with Phoenix. While you control a level 11 or lower Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You also cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of your turn, except Flower Cardian monsters. When this card is targeted for an attack, you can negate the attack, end the battle phase, then draw one card. Wild. End the battle phase is very rarely seen in these games, but in case your opponent doesn't read the card effect, you can see yourself with a +1. Very nice card overall. But what about with Phoenix? Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned by tributing a level 12 Flower Cardian monster except itself. If this card is special summoned, draw one card, and if you do, show it. Then you can special summon it if it is a Flower Cardian monster. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. Once per turn, when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can draw one card. Very similar to another one we had just seen, but still. Pretty neat card overall, being, again, it's another one of those battle ones, but with the effect of special summoning a monster that you draw. But what about the extra deck monsters? We gotta see some of the ones that aren't in Duel Links. Well, let's start off with Cardian Moonflower Viewing. This one is your level 6 tuner monster, tuner synchro monster, exactly, that requires the same materials as Boardifly. Once per turn, during your main phase, you can draw one card, and if you do, show it. Then, if it's a Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions, and it can attack directly this turn. Pretty solid card. I mean, what other effects does it have? If you activate this effect, skip your draw phase of your next turn. pretty solid card, especially if you've got ones that have the 2000 attack. However, that skip your draw phase could be damaging if your opponent can counter that direct attack. When this card is used as synchro material, you can treat it in all of the synchro materials as level 2 monsters. Again, it's a pretty solid tuner monster, being also the synchro monster. But what about the other ones? This is where we're getting dicey. Light Shower is a level 8 monster that requires 1 tuner and 3 non-tuner monsters. Technically, you could special summon this one with Moonflower Viewing being in the extra monster zone, and then having 3 non-tuner monsters on field. But things are getting too close to unplayable. Your opponent cannot target Flower Cardian monsters you control with card effects. Also, those monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects. Nice effect. During your opponent's draw phase, if they draw a card for their normal draw, or if they draw cards for their normal draw, inflict 1,500 damage to your opponent. Ooh. Might wanna there. Unless, of course, you don't. Because even in the anime, the card effect still read 1,500. I don't know. It's up to Konami there, if they wanted to add this card. The main thing, though, is its extra part here. Once per turn during your opponent's end phase, activate one of these effects. This is mandatory. Skip the draw phase of your next turn, or negate this card's other effects until your opponent's next standby phase. Ooh. This is interesting. When this card is on field, it can provide a very nice negate to your opponent's card effects that would destroy your cards. However, skipping your draw phase is not nice. You don't really want to see that, especially if you don't have any other cards in field because you spent all of your materials summoning Light Shower. Either way, if you can somehow be able to summon this card or send it to the grave, I think that cards like Recardination could probably help you bring it back. Alright, editing me here. Sorry for the quick interruption, but what I meant to say was you could bring other cards with Recardination, not the Synchro card. Because if you look into the effect of Recardination, it works for monsters added back to hand, not extra deck monsters summoned to the field. It wouldn't proc with extra deck monsters, that would just send it back to the extra deck and not to your hand. So Recardination would be able to bounce back certain cards that you use to synchro into Light Shower, but not Light Shower itself in the event it gets sent to the grave. Sorry about that. Back to the video. But still, it's really, you're walking on eggshells here. It's really tough to try to defend this card when it's not only hard to summon in Duel Links, but also a bit dicey on the life points there. But there's one more card in the extra deck. This one's just impossible. It requires 5 materials, 1 tuner, and 4 non-tuner monsters. There's only 3 main monster zones. Oof, okay. Let's talk about that right now, before anything else. There is no current cards in the Cardian lines that allow you to synchro with cards in your hand. So this one's just straight up impossible. If Konami were to want to take that back and be like, well, you don't technically need 4 non-tuner monsters, or if they had a skill that allowed you to special summon synchro monsters or send synchro monsters to grave before the start of the game, that's the best I would recommend, if you wanted this card to even be physically in there. But let's talk about what the card even does. Once per turn during each player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. If a Flower Cardian monster you control battles an opponent's monster, that opponent's monster has its effects negated during the battle phase only. If this face-up synchro summoned card is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effects while its owner controls it, you can special summon one Flower Cardian synchro monster from the extra deck except itself. Yeah, it's a spell trap negate. Cool. It's a battle phase effect negate. Okay. And if it was synchro summoned and destroyed by battle, or leaves the field because of a card effect their opponent controls, grave or banished, special summon a synchro monster. Except, of course, the level 10, 5000 attack synchro monster. How in the world do you get this in Duel Links without an errata of any kind? You don't. It's a type of card that is really cool in the TCG, the OCG, but I mean, come on. This card is going to be really hard to defend when trying to bring the extra support into Duel Links. But what about the spell cards? I totally skipped over those, right? Let's go over them. Let's start off with Flower Gathering. Oh, it's another impossible one. Special summon 4 Flower Cardian monsters with 100 attack and different names from your deck in attack position, but their effects are negated. Also, they cannot be tributed for a tribute summon. 4 monsters, you say? In Duel Links? Heck, bringing up the extra deck zone is also an impossibility because this is monsters with 100 attack. In Duel Links, I would imagine the effect would just be 3, right? Either way, it's rough. You can only activate 1 Flower Gathering per turn. You cannot no more special summon other monsters during your turn. You activate this effect except Flower Cardian monsters. Yeah, no. I mean, unless you made it 3 or something, this is another impossible card. I mean, seriously, let's go to the other ones. Maybe the other ones are a bit better. We've got ourselves Super Koi Koi. Activate the top 3 cards of your deck and special summon as many Flower Cardian monsters among them as possible, ignoring their summoning conditions, but their levels become 2 and they have their effects negated. Banish the remaining cards face down, and if you do, lose 1000 life points each. Ugh. Yikes, that is a pretty bad punishment. However, makes a bit of sense, and technically doesn't even need an errata life point wise, because this card is meant to be a huge gamble, a huge risk. Of course, if they did, I would expect 500 life points each, but still, the banishing effect is damaging enough. You can banish this card from your graveyard and tribute 1 monster. Special summon 1 Flower Cardian monster from your hand, ignoring its special summon conditions, and you can only activate this card once per turn. That graveyard effect is alright, it's pretty good. It requires you to have a better monster in hand than currently on field. However, as we saw with the monsters, that can definitely be good for comboing off, especially if you accidentally pitch it using one of your Cardian cards. Return 1 synchro monster you control to the extra deck, and if you do, special summon 4 Flower Cardian monsters from your graveyard. Can't do that. Either way, then you could draw 1 card and show it. Then, if it is a Flower Cardian monster, you can special summon it, ignoring its special summoning conditions. Again, still can't do that. Especially if you brought that down to special summoning 3 Flower Cardian monsters. So you got yourself a situation here where you can't really do much. I don't even know how you would change the effects, but still. Otherwise, destroy as many monsters you control as possible, and if you destroy at least 1, half your life points. Another great punishment for your gambling desires. During your end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there by the effect of a Flower Cardian monster, this turn, while it's in your possession, you can add a spell or trap card from your graveyard to your hand. Alright, pretty nice, a graveyard effect, but that main effect is pretty rough. It is pretty hard to kind of defend, as it's literally in the name an all-in strategy, in the event that you want to keep special summoning, or if you have a certain other synchro monster that you can afford to put back into the deck to do more combos with. And that's all the cards. You can kind of see why Konami hasn't put these cards in Duel Links. But what would happen if they did? Today I built a technically 29 but mainly 30 card deck list for Duel Links if extra Cardian cards were to come into Duel Links. Of course, we've got the main combo starters, Cardian Pine. We've got some that are good like Cherry Blossom. We've got other tuner monsters like Willow, like Butterfly. Main ones that you should have in the event that you're trying to synchro off and use, well, not this one, but all these other cards in hand. We've also got the spell cards, 1 Super Koi, we got 3 Recardinations, excuse me, 2 Flower Card Gatherings, 2 Flower Stackings, 1 Fraud Freeze. We do also have some other cards like Zebra Grass for the shuffle effect. We've got some Calligraphers. It's the main one that you use to synchro off using Willow. We have one of these here mainly because of Gatherings effects. Even if it gets eroded to 3, I would still like to have this option available, as well as its effect here to negate attacks and battle phase, just in case they don't read the card effects. Now, of course, I left one spot open for any extenders if you wanted to add back these cards here to destroy the monsters or spell traps. The Phoenix option as well is another one. I also got some ones like Reinforcement of the Army. It is a limited one in Duel Links. However, if you don't have if you haven't used any of the other cards that are limited to 1, you can add this one in, which is a nice way to start off with Pine. As well as some other ones kind of useful as well. Reinforcement of Army Troops activates during battle effect or step. We do have some ones like Advanced Draw, which is great for the bigger cards that you want to get rid of. Desynchro is also kind of useful as well. However, it's also limited to 1, so you could pick your poison there. As well as a funny one, the Calculator. This one is definitely not one that's going to win more games with or without it. It's just a very funny one since it depends on how many levels you control times 300, which is kind of funny. Now, of course, we have the extra deck. We've got a couple cards that can be played, one illegal card that cannot. We also have Typhon, since yes, that is in Duel Links. But you can also add one more since there is 9 slots available. Whether you want to get into Phoenix or you want to get into Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, this is physically possible because it is a level 8 monster. Although you would need to be careful there since you'd probably need to go from Flower Cardian Moonflowering to Crystal Wing. Or you don't even have to activate the level 2 since you can treat all the synchro materials as level 2. Doesn't necessarily say you have to. So there you go. You can activate a Cardian Moonflower viewing and have 1 card compared to the full list. Now, of course, this is my potential deck list meant for OTKing potentially, or FTKing, I mean, my bad. However, you can build it any other way you like in the event they were to be added in. But this is just my potential deck list. Let's go over the pros and cons. Alright, I'm just going to take over from here. Sorry for the sudden cut, but as the editor, I have to know when to cut a loss, and I was just randomly rambling at that point. So let me do the pros and cons, take it from me, and then wrap up the video from here. Cardians are very, very strong when it comes down to building bodies on the field. They really love to explode and have strong effects as well, but there is also a lot of negatives that come from playing Cardians. For example, the lack of ability to add extra extenders along with the Cardians. Their main effect and gimmick is that you have to draw a Cardian monster. If you draw anything else, any other hand trap, any other effect, you can see it go to the graveyard just as quickly as you saw it add to your hand. Not only that, but also getting Droll Lockbirded, a card that is in Duel Links, is not fun. It is very, very, very not fun for this deck list. Even though you could use Recardination, which is a very strong card when it's in 3 of, it still is very bad because you can't draw from deck, and that is the gimmick of the deck. Now, there are also some other good things like the boss monsters, but when you have yourself card effects that primarily wish upon you having 4 or more monster zones, what else can you do? I did have in the video a skill idea that adds the extra missing monster zones but limits you to only Flower Cardian cards, but still forcing the deck list to only work with a skill attached to it is weird. So the cards like Super All In or the Gathering one, I would 100% believe wouldn't be able to be put into the game. Same for the boss card, and would have to be locked behind a skill. And that sounds crazy enough that the card design is so locked behind this idea that it works in all these other formats because it needs those spots that you would have to rely on a yellow ability. Still, that was just my idea of this, how the skill would have to tie in to save the deck list if you didn't want to use an errata and just weaken the deck list overall. It is pretty clear that Duel Links has a very limited selection of Cardians, and adding these into the game is going to be a big ask for Konami. I mean, I don't even know what I would have done to try and remedy the specific cards and the amount of material needed for such a big boss card. And for what? For a certain deck list that probably is going to fall into rogue category? Either way, I feel like it would be amazing for Konami to tackle the issue, but as for realism, I highly doubt that this deck list would see any play in the event that Konami were to attempt to bring it to Duel Links. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that I'm losing my rockers? That I don't understand how awesome this deck list is? Let me know. And definitely leave a comment down below on any archetypes you want to see in the series. Or let me know if you don't want to watch the series anymore. I could probably use the info. You know? Alright, I gotta head out. See you guys. I've gotta be honest with you, I've been trying to play Cardians and Duel Links. The problem is that every single time I started up a match with it, I've been heavily relying on the horse support that I put in there. Because, like, you know, they have graveyard effects and whatnot. But every single time I've been playing, the Cardian cards are unplayable mess in the hand, and I have to resort to using the horse cards in order to make it actually a playable, like, collection of, like, anything. It's so funny.